you know, I did a bunch of interviews over the summer with people, and the main difference between virtual and in person is that you have to use your voice a little bit more and have a little more energy to make up for that full body language that they see you in person. So other than that, there's a lot is completely the same when you have to prepare for the questions, when you have to prepare for the answers that they're going to give you, when you have to prepare for how to follow up and close them on a hiring date. So we're just going to kind of go through 3 areas of interviewing on a virtual interview. And the first stage, I call it, is the pre-virtual interview. The pre-virtual interview is making sure that, number one, your lighting in the room that you're interviewing is actually lit bright and really so that they can see you. Every time I've looked at people that I'm talking to on a computer and their face is dark or there's a real dark background, I'm distracted. And somehow I kind of equate that to the person. You know, we have perceptions, and when people don't want to show their face and don't have the type of lighting that you need, you're starting off in a bad way, okay? So make sure that the lighting is such that they can see you. You know, like Nicole, you got a really bright face right now. And your background, you know, Abby, it's plain, Nicole, plain. You don't want to be interviewing with a bunch of stuff in the background because they're looking at that and they're distracted. So you want to make sure it's a neutral color. You want to make sure that there's plenty of lighting. You want to make sure that the computer camera is eye level. You never want to be interviewing, you know, how we do the selfies, you know, we want to look up and everything. It makes that really nice portrait. We don't want to do that. Okay, that's distracting too. And we don't want to be looking down at the camera because that's very unflattering. So we want to make sure that if you're putting your laptop up on a bunch of books, that it's eye level with the camera. Okay, that's what we need to do. And we need to make sure that we are wearing a full outfit, not just the top, and sitting there interviewing in your underwear and your boxers, okay? Because for people that do that, they're always conscious and thinking, oh, did I sit up a little bit more? Or, oh, I moved, maybe they got a glimpse. And so they're thinking about that. So how long does it actually take to put on a pair of pants, okay? Are we that busy that we got to actually, this isn't a comedy show. Are we that busy that we don't have time to put our pants on? That we got to walk around in a suit and a tie and our underwear? A lot of people that virtual interview, they do that. So dress like you're actually physically there, okay? Make sure that with the lighting, getting back to that, that we are facing a window with the light, you know, the light's not behind us, that the camera is coming right at us with the bright light on us. Because when we start seeing shadows, if you can get a green screen, that would help as well, because at least it's a solid background that's well lit, you pop. And if you look good on camera, you're only helping yourself in terms of competing against the people that looked bad on camera, okay? You know, it goes to say, ladies, make sure that you don't miss your mouth with the lipstick, because if you're in front of a green screen and you're all lit up and you got a little bit of a smudge, guess what I'm thinking? In the real world, I ain't hiring them. I mean, that's just the way it is. Perception is reality. Make sure your mascara, make sure you did your makeup, not too much and not too little. Just make sure you're prepared, not just putting it on right before the interview, because you're going to make mistakes. Guys, shave, okay? Hide the tattoos, brush your hair, trim your eyebrows. If you don't think the camera's going to pick out nose hair, it does, okay? These cameras are good. So it's the little things that employers look at in addition to the questions. And when they're recorded, they got a second chance to go back and really zoom in on some things that maybe wouldn't have happened in the real world interviews when you're face to face. So the prep work takes what, 5 minutes, 6 minutes? Just make sure you're preparing for the interview. Now, we don't have handshakes. So, let's talk about the timing. How long do you think, or how early would anybody suggest that you dial in for a virtual interview?
Like 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 or less. Abby, why not 10?
Because the more time that you have, like, people can make judgments of you that you're just kind of there or something.
Yeah, you're sitting around waiting, and they got you on. They're on mute, and their camera's off, and you're sitting there waiting for the interview, and they're watching you. Now, what can go wrong? A lot. You might be nervous. You might start to pick your nose, itch your ear, right? You might show that you're nervous. Somebody might be yelling in the background, okay? So the less time you have to sit there and be on show, the better. Now, you can't call in late, but I would even suggest 3 minutes, 2 minutes. 1 is cutting it close. But let's not sit around for 6, 7, 10 minutes and be on show. You know, when we teach the classes are on the computer from home or here, some students, you know, I'll turn it on 20 minutes before, and some students are coming on early, and you should hear the stuff that's going on in the background. I got them, you know, you just look at them, and I wouldn't hire them. So the less time on camera, the better when you're not having interaction with the potential employer. Make sense?
I think Karen had raised her hand.
I can't see that. Hi, Karen.
No, my question had to do with what I understand not getting out of there sooner than necessary, but what if there are potential problems with your connection and stuff like that?
That's a good point. Maybe you want to check it, you know, the night before, or, you know, an hour before. I'm just saying 10 minutes is a long time to be on show.
Yeah.
In the real world, sitting in a lobby with the receptionist, waiting for 10 minutes, you're sitting there fidgeting. She's looking at you. He's looking at you. You're looking at her. Bob comes out after the interview and says, "What'd you think of that Myers guy?" I wouldn't. It's over. It's over. So get in 3 minutes, introduce yourself, and go back to the office in the real world. Virtual, let's call in 5 minutes, and let's, you know, wait, be still while you're waiting until they introduce themselves. You know, don't look like you're scared, okay? Have a relaxed face. Have a cup of water, okay? If we get nervous, we get dry mouth. So just relax until the person clicks on and says, "Good afternoon, Abby. My name's Jeff Myers. I will be conducting the interview. How are you today?" Okay? So once we get to that introduction, our minds have got to say, this is really no different than a face-to-face interview. This is no different than a face-to-face interview. You are looking at their eyes. They are looking at you. Train it so that you're just comfortable sitting in front of somebody, because sometimes on the computer, other people pop up, and that may scare you a little bit. Some other people may join. Like, I'm looking at the screen and there's 7 or 8 people. Imagine if you're interviewing for a job you really want, and all of a sudden you got every department lead looking at you. You just got to remember to relax and pretend you're there, okay? Any questions so far? All right. So the first thing that I do that I always recommend to students, and I've interviewed, in 15 years, I've probably interviewed 1,000 people, maybe more, okay? So it's a lot of sales reps coming in and out. I did lots of customer service, operations, technicians. And the person who jumps out at me is the person that says, "Hey, Mr. Myers, I certainly appreciate the time that you've given me. I have a couple questions for you," and takes control and starts to interview me versus waiting for those tough questions that I'm going to ask you. So a question that I would recommend you asking me, and let's pretend that this is an entry-level position at Kohl's, $38,000, 2 weeks vacation, managing 10 people, 401k, opportunity to move up, a good position to start at coming right out of school. The first question I would say is, Mr. Myers, I was curious, why is this position open? Now that does two things. One, it shows that you are interested and you really are curious as to why this position is actually open. Is it because someone got fired? Is it because somebody got promoted? Is it because they can't keep anybody? They're growing. And so it shows them that you are a serious candidate by asking questions. By the way, you need a total of 8+ questions. Not saying you have to ask all 8, but you should have 8 questions ready to ask me. The second thing it does is it lets you see their body language. And if you asked me, why is this position open? And I'm uncomfortable answering that because we do have high turnover, and I start to fold my arms on camera, or I lean back, what am I doing? I'm lying. And now you know that you're interviewing with a company that's already lying to you. Do you want to waste your time interviewing further after this interview? I'm not saying hang up, but I am looking for body signals from the person asking questions. I want to know, because I'm interviewing at a lot of places. I want to make sure I got the right culture and the right fit. Another question I would ask right away is, paint me a picture of what you're looking for in a top employee for this position. Tell me what you're looking for. Another question I would ask, how long has your longest employee been here? And when they say, well, Tom's been here for 10 years. Awesome. Is there any way I could talk to Tom and get his phone number? Watch the body language, because if he doesn't want you talking to Tom, he's going to say, oh, you want Tom's phone number? And maybe put the coffee cup right in front of you and him, which is a barrier, which tells you he's lying. Okay. You have to know body language. I would suggest you take a body language course. It's incredible. It changes your life. All right. Another question I would ask is, what's the communication style like at this place? Another question I would ask is, what's the growth opportunity for a top candidate, for a top performer? Tell me about that. You can ask those questions. What are the 2 questions you do not ask? 1, what's the salary? 2, benefits. Do we get them? 3, do we get Martin Luther King Day off? How many days do we get off for Christmas? We never ask those questions. Anybody know why? Abby?
Wait, it's just too soon, and you're already assuming that you got the job like that.
No. Kinda, but no.
No.
The interview culture says you don't ask that. It's all about your value. It's not about what the company gives you on interview 1. Now, if I bring that up, it's okay. But people that ask those questions, they're automatically in these salary jobs disqualified just because they did not prepare the right way. It's like sending a resume on a pink sheet of paper. We don't do that. It's like sending somebody a cover letter that is in a binder. We don't do that. A cover letter is 1 page. A resume is 1 page. The culture of interviewing is that you don't ask. It's just like, what do guys wear on a virtual interview? They wear a suit and tie. And there's only 3 colors: black, blue, and gray. This doesn't work. I know I look good in it, but it doesn't work. Okay. I would not get the job. All right. Suit and tie. Okay, so after you've asked those questions, your 8 questions, and you're looking good, you're looking serious, you're looking like you prepared, now you have to be ready for the 5 or 6 or 7 questions that everybody asks. And you have to be able to handle those questions in a way that you're so smooth that if someone woke you up at 2 a.m, you could answer it smoothly. You got to rehearse. You got to practice. So a question that you'll guaranteed be asked in the interview is, tell me about some of your successes or a success or a strength that you have in relation to the job as it pertains to this position. Not that, oh yeah, I'm a great golfer. I don't care. You answer a strength as it relates to the position. I'm a great motivator. I'm very detailed and organized. I know how to give a group presentation. And that's what you're looking for, I'm assuming, sir, in this job, for somebody to be able to do that, okay? So you have to have a strength. And I would say you should be prepared to talk about 3 of them as it relates to that job. We all have strengths, okay? Be confident about it. They're going to ask you, give me a strength of yours. Another question they're going to ask you that's harder is, give me a weakness. What's your weakness as it pertains to this job? And what they're saying, and sometimes they won't always say it, is what are you doing to lessen that weakness? So, I always say listening and organization, okay? I don't say, well, I can never come in on time. Or I don't say, well, I stress myself out a lot because I'm such a hard worker. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear a real weakness, and they want to hear what you're doing to overcome that weakness by the time I hire you. So listening, I could say when I'm in sales, listen, I used to think I was a 10 out of 10 on listening. I really am probably like a 7, because as the customer's talking, I'm so excited about the products I'm selling. I'm already anticipating an objection and how I'm going to handle it. And I know you're looking for somebody that is listening more to the customer, because you might miss cues. So what I'm doing is I'm going to YouTube, and I'm going to a lot of listening seminars on tricks and little tips on how to listen better. So they're going, okay, and always nod. You know why we nod? Because people follow, all right? You want to get them used to already saying, yeah, it's a beautiful day outside. Absolutely. You're going to hire me, right? Yeah, okay? So get them used to agreeing with you by nodding. People follow. Another question that I will ask you is, why you? And I'll shut up. And I'll wait for you to tell me. This is where your 30-second elevator speech needs to happen. Why you? And I always bring it up a little bit in terms of, well, Abby, you've probably seen a lot of people waiting in the lobby to talk to me about this position. My gosh, we didn't anticipate the number of people that were going to apply. And the people that have applied have been absolutely unbelievable. So let me ask you a question, Abby. Why should we hire you over everybody else? Just shut up. Now, what am I doing? I'm testing the candidate. I'm trying to weed out candidates, by the way, because if I'm a hiring manager, I have to talk to a lot of people to look for the top person. So I'm looking at tripping Abby up, because if Abby can't handle the interview, how is she going to handle working for me? I got to find A players. So you have to be ready for tough questions. Like, I see you haven't worked in a year. What's going on? Like, if I called your boss this afternoon, what would he say about you in a 1 sentence? Or give me 2 words your boss would say about you if I called him or called her this afternoon. Okay? These are some tough questions that you have got to be prepared, or you're going to stumble. And you're going to get real quiet. You're going to start looking around and getting fidgety. And then the person interviewing you is going to say, well, she's about to BS, or she doesn't really have an answer to this. And then already you're going to be discounted. You have to have an answer. Another question, tell me specifically a time that you had a conflict with your past boss, and how did you resolve it? Or how was it resolved? How did you tell me a time you had a difficult communication interaction with a previous customer. How did that go? How did you resolve it? Okay. So there's really 5, 6, 7 questions that everybody asks. And if you're prepared and you've rehearsed them and you've practiced and recorded yourself or role played or mock trialed in front of your, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, you're going to be prepared more so than most people who interview. Okay. The hard part, well, it's not hard. It's what 9 out of 10 people, maybe 95 out of 100 don't do. And that's at the end where it gets a little quiet. And I say, Abby, it's been really, really nice getting to know you. And thank you for coming in. And I may say, do you have any questions? Or I may just be quiet. What do we do at that point? Well, most people say, oh, this was great. It was really nice meeting. I'm very interested. Thank you. And they walk out. Well, you got a small chance to get the job. The hard part and the most important part is right at that time where I ask you this question. Mr. Myers, I know you've been talking to a lot of people. You said something like 50. Compared to the people you've talked to, where do I rank on a scale of 1 to 10? I was curious. Well, I'll be honest with you. You were an 8. Okay, that's not bad. How come it wasn't a 10? And shut up. They're going to give you the reason most of the time. Well, it's because you didn't end up finishing your bachelor's degree over at NC State. Okay, no, that's fair. I get it. Now's the time to sell you again. To push that from an 8 to a 9 or an 8 to a 10. If they give you a 2, it's over. If they give you a 4, you got a long stretch. But if they give you anything higher than a 6 to a 10, they are interested and they either have a true concern or they're testing you. And they want to see how you're going to handle yourself and sell yourself one more time. So you need to sell yourself. And how I would say it is, I certainly understand, during my last year, I start working a lot and very busy. And I was gaining a lot of experience and I loved who I worked with and I loved the job. And I knew I couldn't do both. I couldn't go to school and I couldn't manage over at Belk. So I chose to stay at Belk. And the life lessons I got in that job from being able to motivate, being able to communicate, being able to interview candidates, being able to train people on customer service was a heck of a lot more, I feel, than I would have got sitting in the classroom. So while I understand that's a situation that you're concerned about, I can tell you if you hire me, you'll be very happy you did based on real world skills. Okay? You have now given yourself a much better chance of that phone call, that return call to come in versus not saying anything and leaving. Because once you leave, new people come in, you're a distant memory for the most part. So you need to qualify them and hold them accountable on what they're thinking about you and when a decision is going to be made. So the other question I say is, well, that's great. I'm glad you feel a little more comfortable at the fact that I stayed at Belk. I have one more question though. When exactly are you going to make a decision? Because I am extremely interested. Shut up. Now, they're going to say next Friday or in 3 weeks or 2 weeks, they're going to most likely give you a date. Write it down. And then I say, so how will I know if I'm in the pool of next candidates to move forward? Because I am really interested. Should I call you? Should I, stop by? How will I know? Well, you're gonna hear from us next Friday. That's great. No, I'm looking forward to it. And again, tell them I'm really interested in this position. Okay, they need to hear that, and they need to see that you are going to hold them accountable for a yes or a no. And a no's okay, because a no lets you go on to other job prospects because you're interviewing at other places. You got to be interviewing at a bunch of places to get a job. People that only rely on one interview and only looking at one place, Abby's shaking her head, right? Get very disappointed quickly. If you interview at 20 places, you're probably going to get 1 or 2 or 3 job offers. So once you get that date and you shake their hand or you say goodbye on you can wave, you can, I would wave, hey, it was really nice meeting you. Since we're not shaking hands, I wouldn't, be real stiff and go, well, nice to meet you and okay, goodbye. Just be relaxed. So it was really nice meeting you. Don't do the elbow pump. Don't be all cute and go, hey, it's great meeting you. Just go, hey, nice to meet you again. I'm looking forward to the call. I'm looking forward to the next steps. And then what you need to do that afternoon is send out a card, an email at night, not right away, not within the same hour, but at night, thanking them for the interview, telling them again why they should hire you, and then asking for a return interview, asking for a chance to talk again. And then that night, I'm going to put a card with an envelope and a stamp in the mail so that they get it the next day or 2 days later. People love cards. Thank you card. Really great talking to you on Monday. Jeff Myers, sign it, done. Looking forward to the next step. It's almost like they feel guilty telling you no, because no one else sent a card. That could be the job. That could be your determinant right there that you sent a card. All right. Now, the last piece is they don't call you on Friday. Most people don't follow up like I would. You're going to call them and you're going to ask the assistant, where is Mr. Myers? He told me that they were going to make a decision on the position. I'm calling to follow up. Well, he's not in the office today. He's on vacation. I'm going to leave a voicemail. And the voicemail is going to be really simple, very direct and nice. And it's going to say, hi, Mr. Myers, this is Jeff. We interviewed last Monday for the position. You told me that you would have a decision on the 15th. Well, today is the 15th, and that's why I'm calling. I'm looking forward to hearing back about where I stand for that position. Click. And I'm going to do that really a few times until I get an email or a return phone call saying we've selected somebody else. I'm almost going to soft stalk them because I deserve an answer, even if it's a no. I deserve a reason because I spent an hour with you on a virtual interview. I bought a suit. I made sure the lighting was perfect, and you can't tell me no. You can't even tell me I was that bad that you could even say, I'm sorry, we gave it to somebody else. I don't let people off the hook that way. Okay? And you shouldn't either, because those little pushes end up getting you jobs. All right? So really the difference between a face-to-face and a virtual is not all that different, except the prep before, making sure that everything is lit well, making sure there's no shadows, making sure that with all that extra lighting that you don't miss your face with lipstick, making sure that you're in a quiet room, making sure that your background is quiet and neutral, okay? Other than that, you're face-to-face with them. You may need to talk a little louder because make sure your microphone is up to speed. Test it the day before with